So the first order of business at 5:33 is to find somebody who is willing to be a note taker. Any willing victims along those lines for this one? Then I'll speak at once.
I don't have my computer with me, sorry.
Ah, very clever. And neither does Graham.
All right, I can do it, but I'm not on. I can't get onto Google Drive because I'm on my work computer in a hotel room here. I can just do it on Word and transplant it later.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Okay.
I just had my notes and stuff up here, and my laptop computer seems to have just my desktop computer seems to have just crashed. I don't know. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of this. Let me see if I can find a way to pull this up here on a separate thing. Gosh, I usually can pull it off by having the desktop kind of running in one thing, and I'm not even sure how to get to Google Drive on this thing. Well, it says it's alive. Oh, there we go. It's come back. So I am okay, I think. Have a great session. Wait a minute. Where'd everybody go? Oh, here. That's where everybody. Yeah, that's where everybody went. Okay. So Robbie is going to do this and put it up on the other thing when we finally get there. So that's great. Thank you, Robbie. So Robbie, you will be the note taker. Meeting guidelines for meeting remotely. We're waiting for a name, however you are. When your name appears, that will be great. So we're doing this all remotely, as everybody says we can still do it. First question, any adjustments to the agenda? The agenda is just basically the minutes that, it's set up as the minutes. I sent out the agenda kind of in a little slightly more abbreviated form. So hearing no adjustments, we will go with the agenda that we've got. Robbie can figure out which of us are here and which of us are not, and identify any public participants. I don't know. Jerry is not a public participant. Jerry is a member, so he's here, and you don't have to include him as a public participant. So that said, the public comment period, there is no public here to comment, so we'll skip over that. Review and approve minutes from May 8th, 2024. Those have been posted for quite a while on our Google Drive. Has anybody had a chance to take a look at those, or anything along those lines? Well, actually, I suppose I should do this legitimately. Can I have a motion to put the minutes on bring the minutes up?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Nobody wants to?
Second.
Okay. Excellent. Great. Thank
Graham
you.
seconds.
Graham seconds. So that said, any discussion on the minutes from May 8th? I don't remember who was our note taker for that, but it seemed to work out just fine. So, and my other computer is being very schnuzzy here. I was going to reboot it, but I thought, well, I better not run the risk of anything until I figure out exactly what's going on, get through this meeting. So I'll go with that for now. So that said, no discussion on the minutes, no suggested modifications. Okay, all in favor of adopting the minutes as presented in our notes, please say aye. Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none opposed, the minutes are adopted.
I guess
What's
I
that?
have to abstain.
Okay, John abstains. We don't have unanimous approval, but that's all right. An abstention is okay. So moving right along, we're going to try some program updates. The first one we have up, and I'm going to try my best at trying to deal with this a little bit, is our solar program. We tried to have a meeting to discuss what to do about the solar program, and that was unsuccessful. So now we're going to try to deal with it as a committee of the whole. and we're going to have to try to do it without the benefit of having Steve here. So I'm going to try to fill in as best I can, which probably will not be very good. But basically, Steve was powering right ahead and getting some interest and so on from people around town. However, he apparently discovered, as I understand it, that the vendors that were potentially going to be involved in all of this were only interested in quite large installations, 25 acres and up. He felt like this wasn't a very good option for us at this point. So our program, as we had thought we were going to be running it, that is, getting people interested in putting in installing a solar farm per se, would not really be available, and so we were going to have to do something else. So the question is, what else? Should we abandon it? Should we try to reconfigure it in some way? I will open the floor to discussion on this one.
Michael, I would say, can we focus our energies on Moore Park and the pavilion since our bandwidth's limited anyways? Maybe you, me, and Graham can focus our energies on that one project for now.
We can certainly do that, and put the other one on hold for now. The other option that kind of comes up is to sort of try to shift this over to some kind of more residential scale instead of solar farmer. Kind of have solar, available for smaller people available.
Mike, Michael, this is John. Can you remind me what kind of size that Steve was originally envisioning?
Well, it's my understanding that he was thinking of something more along the lines of our, our Beartown array and up.
Okay.
So that array is 150 kW and occupies about 1 acre. So I think that the thought was that this would be something, that and maybe somewhat larger would be manageable, and we could support it in town, but trying to go to megawatt arrays and that sort of thing seemed like it might be a bit of a stretch. That was my understanding as to what Steve had been thinking.
Right. And that Green Lantern group, right? That's the one who did the Beartown array. They
That's right.
they have no interest in things of that size anymore, or?
I don't know. I know that Steve did talk to some folks. I do not think that Green Lantern was one of our potential vendors.
Okay.
They had just no interest in us at all, or array size or what. I could not say.
Yeah.
Steve had been talking to folks.
I mean, it does kind of leave us in a, I don't know where you go from there, right? If there's no one who's going to install arrays of the size that we were envisioning,
Right.
that's a tough one.
Now, well, what at least conceivably could happen is people could be installing residential scale arrays, less than 100 kW, maybe a good deal less than in the order of 20 to 50 kW or something like that. Things that would power their home and maybe produce some surplus. It would be a very different orientation. It would be kind of a more personal kind of thing as opposed to a solar farm kind of thing, which would entail a lot of the marketing of it and so on. Now, we can, for the time being, kind of table that, see if Steve wants to come back or make some suggestions as to where we should go. I'm perfectly happy to do that, certainly for the time being, and I can loop back to the Moore Park one. We should understand the Moore Park, of course. I mean, it was never intended to be a significant electricity producer. It's not a big, not for the electricity that we're doing it. It's more for the symbolic presence that we're doing it, and trying to promote that town wide with that. And of course, one of the things that it would help would be if we had a program that helped people develop their own residential systems, to build on that kind of splash that we kind of hope to make, as it were. But we can certainly pursue that for the time being. And I can try to meet with Steve quietly or privately. He has not been. I don't know what really is going on. You guys probably know as much as I, maybe more. But I think he's just not feeling up to being very active in this right now, and needs to step back and tend to his health and see where I can get from there. And maybe I can get a little bit of information. We can reconstitute that at a later date.
Yeah, Michael, I was just going to say, I think that it would be valuable, and apologies for, I got my signals crossed, trying to, for the solar group to connect on Sunday. So apologies for missing that.
Yep.
But I do think if it works out in the very near future, if we can, if Steve's up to it, have just a however even brief little meeting session with him to try to kind of download where he was at in his process, and like you said, what he would recommend as a possible sort of pivot, because I know he was kind of reconsidering some things, it sounded like.
Yep.
And then kind of keep that, and to sort of parallel with what Ravi said, maybe focus on the pavilion as something that the Energy Committee can actively participate in pursuing, but have this sort of overall sort of solar portion of work we're trying to be involved in, this sort of initiative kind of on this sort of side burner or back burner for just a little bit. I think with some of the other stuff that's going on, in addition to, I know that I think the House bill, I want to say it's 286. It's that I sent that email around a little bit ago. That sounds like that it got vetoed, but it did pass. And that I'm thinking that many companies are kind of waiting to sort of see what panned out with that in terms of restrictions or what that might mean for their business, because it does have implications. I think group net metering was a part of that package that I believe is set to expire in 2026. So that was a mechanism that was really a beneficial, and one that I think we with the program that we were working with would folks would lean heavily on group net metering, with going with a larger utility scale potentially. And so something to consider. I do think if we, circling back, it would be good to just see if we could check in with Steve if he's feeling up to it.
Yeah,
and let me see where that takes us. And
yep. No, that's great. Thanks for the update on that, Graham. And we could use a little bit more. I have not followed 286 as much as I should have. So maybe you can bring us up to date on that too. I think what I will do. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to mention two other things. One is that for sort of kind of dialing back and sort of looking at more like of your sort of, I'll call it standard, but more like residential scale, so to speak. When it comes to ground mounts, 15 kW AC is kind of this cap, where once you go above that, the permitting process, it becomes a lot more laborious, and so homeowners and installers are kind of, in many respects, reticent to go larger. So 15, it can be done, but it starts to become more costly in terms of permitting and that, just as to kind of touch on that in terms of like a purely residential focus. And that's still a really large, that's going to take care of most homes,
Right.
generally
How many,
speaking.
Graham, how many
So,
panels is that, and is that affected if you wanted to, instead of a ground mount, wanted a roof mount?
yeah, so it's kind of odd, but it is just specifically 15 kW AC for the nameplate rating for ground mount. So you could have more solar on the roof and would still, as long as the your electrical service and infrastructure was capable of handling that's generally fine. It's that 50, for whatever reason, and I don't know the whole history behind it, but that plus 15, greater than 15 kW, like, triggers a bunch more sort of legwork to kind of get the site approved and so on and so forth. So and then your other question. So we were looking at that 15 kW would equate to call it like a 540 watt panel, for example, which is kind of the high end of what you might see for that application in terms of wattage. That's 34 panels would be kind of the typical pairing for 15 kW AC. So like 18.75-ish kilowatts DC paired with 15 kilowatts AC.
So that's a very, very robust residential installation.
Yeah, I mean, that is a large system, and there really is, and depending on the home, depending on the group net metering is still an option. So some folks do go a little bigger and go group net meter it. So that's kind of what I know on that in regard to that.
A lot more than I know.
I think you asked another question, but I don't recall.
No, those were the questions that I asked. The physical size of the...
I know the other thing I was going to mention was that the Solar for All, so the Inflation Reduction Act, and there was a significant chunk of money allocated for the state of Vermont, and I think they termed the program Solar for All, and that's still, I think, the Department of Energy, and they're kind of still working on the logistics for that, and it's I'm guessing, I don't recall when their like sort of official rollout is. It's probably not for another year-ish or so, but that is funding that's geared to assist lower income folks go solar. And so I think potentially there could be, energy committee type role in helping, kind of helping to promote that a bit. But I think we do kind of really benefit from leaning on the, contractors for being kind of the point people for folks to connect with. And so I don't know, maybe that's the best, one of the better way, more effective and efficient ways that we as an energy committee, if we decide to, can try to help make those connections and promote, if we decide to, promote solar and get people connected with contractors to really get the get it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, I think that sounds like it makes a lot of sense. Were there any other questions or thoughts on this?
No, I was just going to say that my system at my house is 12 panels. It's 5 kWh, and so that's the size that mine is.
Yep.
And how about roughly, if you, what was that offset approximately how much? I mean, it doesn't, a lot of people really try to go 100%, and it's not, that's great if you can meet or exceed your annual usage. But in my mind, any little bit helps. The solar at our house, we offset about 50% of our annual usage, and I hope to expand on that. But I feel pretty good about that.
That's 100% of our current usage, and then
yeah, that's
use credits.
Yeah,
because we are on Gen 2, the Gen 2 net metering agreement, which does not allow us to use it for fees like line charges and that stuff. We have a 21, I think a $25 a month electric bill, and it's all fees.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, why don't we? I mean, I think that we can probably make a lot out of this, and I would be perfectly content restructuring the program around this. Like I think Graham suggested, I think it makes a lot of sense to loop Steve into that process. I will take responsibility for one, going ahead and getting in touch with Steve and seeing, what he thinks he might be able to do and when he thinks he might be able to do it, or whether he wants to pass along to me or what, or just needs to bail out altogether. And try to schedule our solar group around that. And two, I'll jump ahead to a slightly later item, which would be the town hall solar. I will get in touch with Brad and or Seth and wake that back up before our next meeting to see if we can see what that has to do. So we'll shift our emphasis onto that. Hopefully that will pan out. I'm never quite sure, but there was quite a bit of enthusiasm for it, at least for a while. So we'll see where we go with that. Does that sound like an agreeable outcome for this particular couple of things?
Sounds good.
It does to me, and I guess I would bring up too, and I don't know quite the best way to put this. It sounded like, from what we are aware, that I don't know how official it is as far as the select board opting for Sun Common to, assuming that this project comes to fruition, by having Sun Common do the work. I don't know if folks have heard in the news or word of mouth. There are definitely some changes afoot for Sun Common's parent company, which impacts Sun Common. So just, you can Google iSun latest news. Not the greatest, and so I do kind of feel obligated to kind of flag that the Chapter 11 bankruptcy that iSun is Sun Common's parent company that's going through, I think bears mentioning. I don't have much detail other than the intent is to continue operating, but that does throw a wrench in the works, and so I don't know if we, if I don't know what implications that has for getting, for the public, for the town. So
we did have a close second competitor. It was really a little bit of a toss-up. Sun Common was slightly more something and less something else.
Yeah,
but it was.
I think certainly the project too has changed so significantly. Prices too have have changed and probably come down some. So I do think it would be prudent to we'd revisit once we kind of dial in exactly more detail of what this pavilion's going to be, and what opportunity there's for solar on it, and we ought to just kind of revisit that with the various contractors, whoever they may be. But did kind of feel like I ought to mention that if
Thank
folks
you.
hadn't heard. So
Yeah, no, I had not heard, but so thank you for letting us know. If Brad does not know, I'll make sure he's aware of that when we try to re-up this whole thing. But and I will try to pull that together with at least Graham and possibly Ravi as well to see about pulling something together on that. So I've got two things on that. Nothing too onerous, but nonetheless, I got two tasks coming out of that. So go with them. So are we about set with this one for now? Okay, that said, I did want to just touch base on the weatherization program. Obviously, people aren't busily sitting here wondering how to keep warm, but nonetheless, weatherization can help even in this weather. And maybe Dwight can bring us up to date with where things stand and what we're going to do about anything from here.
Yep, where things stand right now is that John can chime in. We kind of did a little bit of division of duties, and I owe John dates. We're going to reach out to the clients that are on the list. I owe John dates as to when I can go out and do it. Obviously, I'd like to get more committee members trained up and how to do it so that we can do more folks. But we've been really I've been really fighting hard at work to get jobs done because on the state level and the federal level, we're kind of going through a funding shakeup right now, so to speak. We got $1 million less in the state funds this year because of the warm winter and the there's an article today that came out from the Energy Network saying that we had what was it, 8% less fuel usage this past year than the year before, and that is almost double. So that's affecting funding. But the biggest change is that we're going to be about 75% federally funded through Department of Energy, and the what's it when both houses agree or both parties agree, bipartisan infrastructure law. That's going to hit us big time. And then also we're getting another $29 million from Department of Energy. You may have read that article last week. There's 58 total, 58 million. So we've been working hard trying to figure that out. But the worst part about it is that there's our eligibility for those federal funds is only about 75%. They can't make as much money and qualify for our program, and that's what's going to be most of our funds. So we've been working hard trying to figure out how that's going to impact the program. Did any of that make sense?
It did, I think.
So long story short, I have an excuse that works. We've been really busy, and I haven't got John dates plus baseball. So
I can say I've sent out sort of, we haven't forgotten you emails to the folks. But yeah, but as I don't know, Dwight, I mean, as Michael suggested, like how effective now it's only going to work, right? We can, the thermal imaging won't work unless they have like their AC pumping away, right?
nope. I will tell you. Well, depends on how they manage their household. It's all about the delta between the outside temperature and the inside temperature.
Yeah.
So Nancy manages our house really well. I think it was 92 degrees out in the interior with no AC cooling is 77. And
Yeah.
before we insulated our attic, it would be 85. So I think that it works equally well for cooling, especially with most people putting in cold climate heat pumps for AC rather than heating, is what we're finding. So they're increasing their energy usage per household. So it works equally as well for cooling as it does for heating.
And people might actually be uh, more comfortable doing the blower door test actually in the summertime anyway. So I don't know. I guess
So
so.
yeah,
If you give me the dates, we can start setting some stuff up.
yeah, that's what I got to do is I got to get John the date. So
Okay, so we'll just
And
proceed with that and get some dates and follow up.
yep.
Sounds
as
good to
those
me.
dates sort of firm up and as you see fit to have other members participate, certainly let us know. I'd, as long as I'm available, love to help out in that regard and if needed, as needed.
Yeah. Well, I envision that anybody who's interested will be able to do the monitor, the blower door, and all that stuff on their own. So we can cover more ground.
So Dwight, one question. I've raised it before. Jericho has been interested. Should we let them know that there might be some training slots available?
I would rather get everybody who's interested on our committee up and running before I take on Jericho. I'm very hesitant to to bring that to advance it to Jericho, and we don't even have it correct a process in our town. So
Okay.
if they want
So
to
for
do
now,
it,
that's on hold.
they can figure out how to get it done.
Well, we're in a position to help them out, so I can't imagine anyone better to do that than you. So
Yeah,
I'm willing to put it on hold.
I'm trying to not say yes anymore.
I get it. So, but we'll figure out what path we want to follow through on all of this. So okay, so that's where we stand on that. I think we got that down. So we're actually a couple of minutes behind, but that's all right. Moving on to education and outreach activities. The first item on here had been the outreach to schools and youth. That was Lori. Have not seen or heard from her, so I guess we aren't going to find out anything about that. So we'll go past that. We do have the EV, I call it the event. Very clever, don't you think? Call it but that's going to be coming up. And one of the things that we had talked about was kind of potentially expanding what goes on with that into sort of maybe not full-fledged energy fair, but kind of more activities than just the straight up EV demo. I think we should really get some sense of what we're going to do. That's one of the reasons I felt it was important to have this meeting tonight because that's typically the end of August. We only have one more meeting well in advance of that. We might have a second meeting in August to wrap up some loose ends, but I think we ought to have a pretty good idea of what we intend to do. Now, Dwight, I know you had been saying you wanted to look into some energy fair things and see if there's anything you thought we ought to do on that. So right now, I'm going to open it up for general discussion as to what we ought to do on this.
Yeah, my opinion from talking to Virgins is doing theirs soon, and talking with South Burlington this to put on something like what they call the energy fair. They've been working 2 years on that stuff. Because they all have food trucks and all of the vendors, GMP and that are in the territories and such, Velco, all those folks need to have it on their boards. And if we're going to do it, we should do it right. If we're going to have an e-fair, I think an event is a mini e-fair. So maybe next year, if we're going to do a big e-fair, we plan for it for next year.
Right.
And really put some time and consideration into it.
But we still are shooting for an EV event this year as we have in the past. Is that correct?
You're on
And do
mute.
we want to do anything with it? Should we get in touch with Dave Roberts again about providing some additional sort of class time on that? I thought that was a very useful add-on. Should we look for a food truck to come by? I mean, we can ratchet up one level as opposed to going with a full fare, or just go with drive some cars out on the grass and everybody take a look at them and ooh and ah and say how cool everything is. Any thoughts?
I think we could start with the foundations, contact GMP, contact Dave Roberts, see if there's interest there. I know GMP is pretty good at getting people to participate in those types of things. And yeah, Michael, if you want to ratchet it up a little bit, if Green Mountain Power feels like there'll be an audience, I'm sure we could pursue a food truck at that point.
I definitely think a food truck is a good idea.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know how hard it is or what people want, and you know, um, I mean, people who run those food trucks, whether they're expecting a certain number of people or something like that. But um, I definitely think that will help sort of get people to think about coming.
I can volunteer to contact GMP, Michael, since I've done that in the
Okay,
past. Does that sound like a
and
good starting?
I'll take on Dave Roberts since I've done
Great.
that in the past.
Perfect.
So
Great.
Does anybody know?
what date would we be thinking that we would, when would we be doing?
Well, we usually coordinate this with Jericho, and it's usually late August is when we have done it in the past. Kind of the last week before school starts
Jericho
is
is
rough.
Jericho is interested.
Yeah, they are interested, and they were participated in the past as well. Does anybody know any food trucks or how to even approach that problem?
Dwight, do you know the barbecue guy who does the food trucks down? I can't remember his name. I thought you knew. Um,
Me, Michael, or somebody else?
oh, I was talking to Dwight. There's,
Oh, Dwight.
Are you talking like Mark Barbecue maybe,
yeah,
or
when they have the food trucks down at Moore Park. Um,
Mike
there-
Fulham?
yeah, that's
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Mike lives at the end of our street. I'm sure he would be game.
Yeah. Mike. One good thing about having Mike there is Mike's pretty good at self promotion, and he does have a birthday coming up at some point, so I got
He
big
does.
event, a big event.
Would someone be willing to contact him and see if he might be interested in something with that, like that?
Yeah, we have a
Got
Hey,
date.
Jerry's a real person now.
We have a date that would be good.
Let me check in with Jericho. But I thought kind of touch base and is this something you're interested in, as opposed to a specific date. I mean, before we pursue it in greater detail, whether we have to go someplace else. But I will be in touch with. I will contact Jericho on that, and Dave Roberts on that. Robbie will do GMP, and someone will contact Fulham.
Yeah, I'll contact Mike, and I will also
Great.
contact BGS to see what um, their interest is as well.
Who was that, Dwight? I didn't quite catch it.
Vermont Gas.
Oh, Ron Cass. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, that would be great. Yeah, and it seems
They
funny that
they
they
do
have a
hit a
role
pretty
in
good
all this.
push with Jericho, and to a lesser extent Underhill.
Yep, gotcha. So I think we're in pretty good shape as far as that goes, and we have some tasks laid out for that. Are we good for moving on from that? say that I think we are. So hearing no objection, I'm going to move on. The Jericho Farmers Market, we had a kind of a low-level intro, but quite a few people brought some interesting gizmos and gimcracks. Jerry had a big selection there. Robbie had some stuff, and Graham had some stuff, and we might be able to get a little bit more in terms of a demo. There was some discussion on two fronts. One is Mo Electric. Someone had mentioned possibly getting in touch with them, and also the possibility of Jerry Hill, both of which I found very interesting. Does anybody have any information about any of this?
I can comment on Mo Electric contact. I haven't had any recently, other than just prior to our presence at the Jericho Farmers Market. I think, that's really just a pretty, it's as far as I know, volunteer sort of grassroots. I think that is, I think they're a great resource. Their website, it's actually, I've enjoyed perusing it. When I did contact them, they passed along some of their flyers, so to speak, literature, sort of facts sheets type material, and one of the Andrew did say he was going to try to make it. I don't know that it would be great to sort of network and have their presence, and certainly no reason not to have an open invite for the next time around in July. But they did definitely say, like, please, use our information, and suggested, just a printed copy, like laminated, maybe even if we were to really get fancy and for durability, and have that available just as some reading material. There was a QR code on one of them that directed folks to, I think it was rebates and things like that. So I would say we ought to definitely, like, I don't know how, and I don't have a way to laminate, but I could pursue that and get just a copy of that stuff to kind of have just to include with our, tent kit, and have the invitation open for them to come by, if they wanted to, or whomever wanted to. And I could certainly, I will check in with Jerry Hill, and see if they have any of their vendors would be willing to come by, or even have a separate, something, but just kind of see what the appetite there is.
Yeah, that sounds great. Now,
And yeah,
go ahead.
the last thing I was gonna say on that is I thought great to kind of have some of those tools and kind of a little bit of a stuff there. Did we blow our budget on the on the canopy and table, or do we have a little left over to
No,
come up with some
Robbie's
sort of,
planning to
like,
take us all to
banner?
Monaco now.
Okay, Vegas. I would say, like, that would be really something we should, like, discuss and consider highly, as getting some sort of signage, just at least to say, hey, whatever it is. I mean, Eliza and I can use crayons and paper on a little sandwich board or something, and decorate something if we need to, just to say, hey, this is the Energy Committee tent. Bring a little bit of awareness, and that way the first question is, like, who are those guys, sort of thing.
Yeah, we
Just
talked
a
about
thought.
that a little bit.
Yeah.
One thing is, I neglected to mention that our next time up we've already scheduled July 18th. So anybody who can participate in that would be great. And participate with lots of toys and show and tell, that's great. However much show and tell. I didn't even bring the water fountain or anything. It was too cloudy, and those things require a lot of sun to do anything with. So So a couple of questions. One is that came up that I guess we have money still left for some kind of something, and I think that some kind of a sign, a banner or something like that that we can hang up seems to me to make a lot of sense. I mean, I have a sign that Essie made for us, but it's cardboard, and I wasn't comfortable about putting it out in the rain the last time, and we're looking at possibility of rain. So if we could get something along those, that just says, as you say, energy committee or something. I personally wouldn't mind saying just energy committee on it, since Jericho sometimes likes to participate with us, and I don't feel like, I definitely don't want to include them, but I also don't like necessarily to exclude them on it. And so if we said something, energy committee tent, or just energy committee on it or something like that, and even one or two of those. I don't know what people think about that, but so I would like to pursue that with our remaining budget if people are up for that.
Well,
Okay.
when we set up the weatherization program, we just have we have one table and we have a blue tablecloth that goes on that. And then we were able to order it's a runner kind of thing, but it goes across the table, the
Yep,
short one, and it has our name, so it's in the front,
yep.
which we're not banging our heads on it so.
So I can figure out how much we have left in the budget. I think we have to use it by the end of this month, if I'm not mistaken, because they did
That
not.
may very well be, Robbie.
Yeah, because we didn't get the money for this upcoming fiscal year. So let me check in with Sherry, see how much we have left, and if we can get a sign. Dwight, can you send me a link to what
I'll
you
try to
guys?
figure out where we bought it from. I'm pretty sure we got it right off of Amazon.
Okay, okay.
We just need to either have a
I do
phrase.
like that idea of just hanging it off the front of the table or something
Yeah,
where it's
totally.
Yeah, that would
there
be
just as
great.
an
Just anything that kind of
identifier and
makes
not, yeah.
makes it clear what we are, who we are, and stuff like that. And I like that with the table because that kind of makes it clear that ties it in with everything else. Well, so who's Dwight is pursuing that, and Robbie, you're getting the information, and
I'm gonna figure out where we bought it from, and
I'll take it from there.
yeah, what I'm talking about is whatever we decide to put on it. You can get them on Amazon for like $30.
Okay, cool.
So, or
great.
you can get a whole tablecloth for 55. It just got what do you want to say?
I do think we need to vote on this, and allocate and give authority to whomever is going to do it. So can I get a motion to spend what it takes to get a sign made for us?
So moved. That's John.
I second.
Second? Excellent. So any further discussion? I think that I wouldn't mind if someone touch base with me on it, but I don't think we need to have to do a big, you know, design by committee, design the sign. My own preference would be say something like energy committee on it because that gives us the greatest flexibility associated with it. But if that doesn't work out well, then I'm open to other. If it said something else, I ain't going to say, oh my God, we can't use that. So
Well,
um,
let me see what the options are, and I'll send it around for everyone to take a look at.
Robbie, I just
great.
sent you the link to the.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Dwight. So, but we do need to vote on this. So, and we'll spend up to whatever remains in our budget. Does that sound reasonable?
I would think up to if I'm looking at these if we decide to get a whole tablecloth that has it on there, that'd be $54 plus shipping. So I think $75, or if we say 100 or under, it should be sufficient.
Yeah,
If we've got it,
yeah.
which I
I
think we
like the
do.
table drape. I like the table drape idea. It kind of makes it look
Yeah,
a little bit more professional.
I like that too. Yep, I think it's great. Okay, with no further discussion, I'd like to call the question. Who's in favor of us doing this? Say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we have decided to allocate money to do a little table drape. Boy, high finance, big doings here at the Underhill Energy Committee tonight. So we'll do that, and we do have the 18th on our calendars. Hopefully, some people will be able to join. Hopefully, somebody will be able to Well, right now Ravi's got the tent, but presumably it's going to wind up at town hall somehow. But if not, we'll need to touch base and make sure we can do that. The 18th, I think, is actually after our nominal next meeting, so we should be able to get that in place. But we do need to get the signage done before that, I think, to qualify for that. So, are we good with that? Great. Now, I did include Jericho Energy Task Force on here. Um, let's see, we had a kind of a joint meeting with them. Only Graham and I showed up, so it wasn't a full meeting, but we did participate with them. That information is available. I put the links on there if people want to follow up with that. I still think it's an excellent resource, an excellent opportunity for us to begin to enhance our bang for our buck. And I'm open to suggestions as to ways to do that, but I don't feel like we need to spend a whole lot of time on it today unless we want to. Nope, evidently no one wants to. Um, but
I
growing
think
out
it's
of
always
that,
good just to.
yeah,
I just think it's always kind of good to kind of keep up, communications. Some of what they were talking about, uh, water and soil quality, like I fully agree with that. Seemed like kind of a next level sort of thing, at least for me personally. But I do think just being an adjoining town, it never hurts to
yep,
stay in touch and try to coordinate, and be inclusive when possible and when it works. And I enjoyed, I didn't know anybody that was a, introduction to all those folks for me. I didn't know anyone prior to that. So
yes. Well, I think I don't think we want to do it on a super frequent basis, but maybe a couple of times a year or something like that. We should try to join in and just kind of touch base with these folks and they do some interesting things. They do a lot of educational outreach and that sort of thing. So we can piggyback on some of the things that they do, and they have some people with some real enthusiasm for some things. So I will definitely be in touch with them about the farmers market PISO coming right up. So, and I know that they're interested in pursuing that. So excellent. That does bleed into the next one. And I think, Dwight, you said you were going to try to touch base with Ann Janda about the electrification coach question. I still think
Well,
that's a great idea.
I did not check in with Ann Janda, but I did research what they're talking about, so I can speak to that.
Yep.
The energy coach position is through a group called Rewiring America. They're looking to have, I think, 8,000 coaches countrywide. And I think they're like just under 1,000 is what they're saying right now. So there's plenty of room. Their goal is to advance clean energy projects across the country. It's a free 4-week training. 8 hours of that is online, through I don't know if it's Zoom or GoTo. And then there's 15 hours of additional training outside of that on demand coursework. They said there's 8 different specialized coaches, but I could not find what those 8 specialized coaches what are. So week 1 is basics of a house as a system, which is a pretty. I think this would be great training for anybody that wants to do, and for our weatherization pre-audit program as well, because it talks about the house as a system, which is the basics for what we do and the basis for our training. Week 2 is about decarbonization and electrification, uh, awareness. Week 3 talks specifically about heat pumps. And then week 4 is integrate technical know-how with communicating persuasively the benefits and outcomes. So the last class, basically, I figure it's teaching you how to do it. But you sign up, you agree to go to 2 2 hours of online training for 4 weeks and 15 additional hours, and you will get a certificate as an energy coach for Rewiring America. It sounds like good free training, a certification that when you go, you can tell clients that, or townspeople that you're a certified energy coach, and it's free. So I think it sounded like a pretty good program if they can keep it up and keep going.
Should we
Right. Did you get
pursue it?
a sense of whether? Did you get a sense of during that sort of 4-week training time? I'm assuming there's, some Rewiring America facilitator, or is it sort of just
Yeah. I understood that the 2 hours were a virtual classroom type
okay, kind of a
situation.
webinar type?
Yeah, so they're structured. The 2 hours is structured with a trainer and a host, and
Okay.
we move
And then
through.
you different modules.
Yeah, yeah. If they're talking
That's
to,
very interesting to me. I can't. I would love to. I can't commit at this point the time, but I am, especially the home of the system and kind of the basic thing.
well, I was going to, as soon as baseball season was done or mostly over, I was going to sign up and take the class, and I could report back, or if anybody else had more time and quicker. They just started a class for June. Looks like they do it on a fairly regular basis.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dwight, if you wanted to, do that for your own benefit too, as well, that
Yep.
sounds great. It seems to me that it ought to be something supported at the regional level. To get, for small towns, it can be difficult for, to kind of have, one or more people in a small town kind of pushing that through. But at the regional level, it could provide a lot of resource that we could tap into. But certainly, so you would probably pick that up maybe somewhere around the end of July or August then?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that sounds great. And maybe we can decide what we want to do with it based on real information as opposed to surmise.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. So we can pursue that and keep that
Dwight,
on
can
our
you
plate.
can you send us the link with the dates so we can at least check it out for see if we have some
Yep.
time to attend ourselves? That'd be great. Thanks.
Great.
Yeah, I
Thanks,
mean, I
Dwight.
just think it's great. It sounded like it's good basic information, and it's like you don't have to, because I mean, we send folks over to, like, we get our credits through BPI or NYSWADA, which is the New York State, and we're talking, a 2-day training is $1,000, and it's very modular, and it's for professionals who are doing it every day. This is the first thing I've seen that is built for an energy committee member to get some basic knowledge and how they're, so, yep.
Sounds great. We'll go with it and follow your lead on that one. So, okay, are we good with energy coaching? Dwight is going to carry that ball for us for the time being. That said, I guess right now we have member items and any new business we want to bring up. Anybody have anything they want to introduce? Robbie.
Yeah. Just an update on the MERP program. Uh, we will be scheduling the audits. Du Bois and King has put us on their calendar, so now we just need to coordinate with them, myself and Brad, on the specific date. So that's exciting that that's moving forward. They did ask if we could provide, when the audits get scheduled, if someone could attend who's familiar with the building and the mechanicals and electricals. I assume that would be Brad, but I just wanted to throw that out to the group here to see if he's the appropriate person or if it's someone like Jerry or somebody else.
I was going to say, I was thinking about volunteering Jerry. I don't know. Obvious choice.
I'm completely in the dark. What is this program?
Oh, yeah. So this is the MERP, MERP, MERP program, Jerry. It's a state program. It might be, I think it's state program. And basically, we we'll get a grant after these audits are done on the town hall and town garage. I think were the two buildings we identified or targeted. So Du Bois and King is going to come in, do some audits, give us their recommendations. And then I think, if I remember correctly, there's a good few $100,000 that we can use to implement some of these projects. And so Du Bois and King, when they come out to see these buildings, they're obviously, as you know, on an audit, they'll have questions on the mechanicals and electricals. And it sounds like myself and Michael both think you might be the appropriate person to answer those questions.
Well, I'm most familiar with the town garage.
Most familiar with the town garage.
Yeah,
Who would be
not
a
so
good
much the town
person?
hall.
Who would be good for town hall, do you think?
I think Brad's as good as anybody.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and actually, yeah, I think so. He's there every day, but also we're getting a new electrical service for the town hall and a generator for the town hall, and we've done a bunch of other stuff. We got a new heating system. We yanked the oil tank and stuff. And he was involved in all of that.
They should know pretty well what's going on.
Hey, Robbie, do you think um, uh, annual, historical, electrical, and fuel, oil, propane, whatever it may be, is that information that would be good to have on hand, or at least, I guess, because I'm assuming that's information they will want to review.
Yeah, so we've already
Yeah, they
provided
dig
them
into
with,
all of that stuff.
yeah, we've already provided
Yeah.
them with fuel and
Oh,
electrical
okay.
usage for the
Okay,
past 12
great.
months, I believe we gave them and spearheaded that portion of the data collection. So
Has
they
that
have
been
that
done already?
context. Pardon me, Jerry?
Has that been done already?
We have given them the electric bills and fuel usage data already, yes.
Yeah, I collected a bunch of that stuff relative to the generator, but it's stale goods now.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll keep everyone posted as that progresses.
So with respect to this, what happens? What do I got to do next?
For the time being, Jerry, let me and Brad coordinate with Du Bois and King the dates, and I'll mention to Brad that you may want to attend the town garage audit.
Yep, I've
And
been there before.
and if he likes that idea, then we'll pull you into available dates and get everything coordinated. So I'll herd all the cats and pull you into the conversation when we're ready.
Okay, because we did do a energy audit. Oh, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago on the town garage. We had problems with it, and as you say, we need another one. The big issue is the roof.
Presumably that will come out, and maybe we can use some of this money to deal with it.
Maybe a lot of it.
All of this money to deal with it. I mean, that we could do worse.
Well, it was
Fix
my
one
understanding
problem.
when we're doing with the ARPA money that what their plan was to do one section of the roof and see what's going on, because you have to get at it from the outside. So you have to take the outside roof off and see what's going on inside. And really, nobody knows what's going on structurally inside that roof.
It's going to be a challenge, but
Yeah, yeah. Um,
okay. We good for MERP? Anybody got anything else they want to bring up at this point? Okay, the next item on our agenda is, do we have anything we want to specifically call out for our next month's meeting. I think that the EV event has got to be front and center on that myself. And we can finalize anything about the farmer's market. I think everything else is kind of quiet for now. I get the impression, and we got MERP coming down the pike, and hopefully by then we can have some more information on the solar, what direction we want to take on that too. Anything else we want to make sure we got on there? Okay, that said, Jerry, welcome to the committee. not like you haven't been here, but now you are official as far as I know. I didn't even check with Brad, but I'm going with it. Enough is enough.
I signed the conflict of interest agreement, so it's official.
So you're official now, so that'll have to do
Yep.
it. So that said, unless anybody's got anything, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Okay, it's non-debatable. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much.